Welcome everyone to Awesome Truth, a wrestling book club. I'm your host, Steve Semino, and with me as always is my co-host, Walt Schwenk. Hey, Walters.
Hello, Steven. How's it going?
I can't not laugh at that. My friends, it is going very well. We are back on Awesome Truth, and we have a special guest today. We have a pro wrestler, and it's not someone you might expect. It's probably someone you aren't necessarily aware of unless you watch AEW Dark. Because the end of December, this man got a match on Dark, his first match in a bunch of years. His name is Leroy Patterson, and he's here today to talk about his life in and around wrestling and how it all led to him trying out for AEW.
Yeah, I mean, normally when we talk to wrestlers, it's they've written a book, and this is not the case with Leroy. But we've talked to people who've had lengthy runs or current runs in major promotions, and in Leroy's case, he's making a debut, and he's hoping to make the roster for one of these, or for AEW specifically, and so. It's just interesting to hear the perspective of someone in that position because we rarely kind of get that story. We rarely get that perspective. And it's a really interesting conversation. And he sounded like it was an interesting experience, to say the least.
Yeah, we don't always talk to people about experiences like the one Leroy had. We don't ask them about their time backstage, their tryout matches, their debut matches, or they're just pro wrestlers. It's part of their lives. They don't look at it the same way Leroy does or did. But Leroy had his big match on Dark, and he's here to talk about it, his career, his life, and his big debut after decades in the business. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Leroy Patterson. We are so excited to have a very special guest with us today on the podcast. He is a professional wrestler. He has wrestled all over. You probably know him from AEW Dark, which he debuted on, was on at the end of December. I'm talking about Leroy Patterson. Leroy, how are you, sir? Thank you for coming on.
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me so much.
Hey, Leroy, typically on this podcast, when we talk to pro wrestlers, we usually start at the beginning. We usually get wrestler origin stories because that's usually where the stories begin. But I think in this case, we're going to start with the most recent part of your story, which is your debut match. Is it a debut match or a tryout match? Or what are we calling that exactly?
I think both work. It was definitely a tryout and my debut. So yeah, we'll see.
Right. Yeah,
maybe only match. Who knows?
Well, we would love to hear more about the process that went into that. I mean, we Steve and I watched it AEW Dark and we saw the match, which is obviously the finished product. But we'd love to hear more about what got you to that point.
Yeah, so I been a pro wrestler a long time, 20 plus years. I even started backyard wrestling way before that. So I've had like a long history. I'm on MTV True Life. I'm a backyard wrestler. I'm on the cover of Best of Backyard Wrestling Volume 2. So I've been doing stuff like I had 3 years in XPW, which, they just had a Dark Side of the Ring episode. And that was 99% of what was said there was totally legit. And I was there for nearly all of it. So I've had a fun wrestling history. But aside from the wrestling, I've also been doing reality shows. I've done America's Got Talent, Germany, Italy, France, Romania, similar shows. I've done Wipeout, American Ninja Warrior, Solitary, which is a show where they locked us in a room and tortured us for days. I've done 20 plus reality shows over this time. And it was nice to finally have the wrestling world and the reality show world collide when it came to the Go Big show. Cody Rhodes is a judge on there, and he's awesome. And we had a performance that I can't really talk about yet. It's supposed to air real soon. And yeah, it was nuts. It was crazy. Tensions were high. Emotions were of all types were flowing. But it led to us getting an email a few months later, actually, inviting us to Dark. So me and my manager, my best friend, Howdy Price. I've known him for also 20 plus years, just as long as we've been wrestling. And he is an amazing, funny guy. And I knew that if someone was going to be beating me up and it's not me, I'd like it to be him. And so Go Big Show was, can't talk about it, but the events of that led to us getting that dark match. And it was a dream come true. It was like biggest match of my career. And I always thought that I was like, because you saw me on the show. I'm not the typical wrestler type. I'm in shape, but not the shape most people are used to. I am a shape. I have one ab. It's a giant keg. It's great. But I always had the feeling that I wasn't going to get in there based on my athletic prowess and all that alone. I knew it was going to have to be like a crossover situation where, you look at someone like Hugh Jackman showing up on Raw. It would have to be that's my only way I'm getting into one of the big feds is the crossover. And it was a 1 in a million chance, and it worked.
One thing that I loved about your appearance, and one thing I like about AEW, and I think we're all probably smarky enough to agree on this point, is it's the kind of promotion where I think, especially, given that there's really two big American promotions, it's the one we expect to see one because they seem to value all elements of the card, it's not just big strapping hunks, especially the way NXT is trending these days, where it's just, they want the biggest, meatiest, most, good looking guys in the world and girls. But for you, you have a very specific role on the show. You have a very specific look, you have a very specific, performance, character, it's all, I think it's just, you fit into that world so well. So I imagine getting a chance to do something for them must have been just really something special.
Oh, AEW was amazing. And just as you said, I feel like they cater to every genre of wrestling. And whereas WWE is kind of very streamlined, kind of, the same stuff, every now and then you'll get a McFoley or a, Bastion Booger, which would be more my speed, or, something you'll get the Outcasts occasionally, but for the most part, yeah, they're very, very one type. Whereas in AEW, I feel like if we get called back, fingers crossed, I do feel like there is a spot for us. I do feel like that there is potential for us to do some really cool stuff. The fact that they have a show like Being the Elite, which gives people a creative outlet to win, because you're waiting around for hours for these things to happen. So if you have an idea for a funny skit, you film it, and then boom, it's something. It's out. It's thrown out into the world through their public channels. That's amazing. That means so much to me to have an outlet like that in addition to the wrestling, especially when you have so many funny, creative people backstage. That it shows that they get it. They just get all of it, and I love it.
So you mentioned you got an email a few months after your Go Big Show taping,
mm-hmm.
And what was that process like, just getting to the dark taping and then, like you mentioned, you were roped into Being the Elite, and just take us through that day,
yeah.
What was that like, and who did you kind of interface with, and I guess what were some of the stuff that happened that we didn't necessarily see
mm-hmm.
in the actual taping of Dark itself?
So due to the events of the show, we knew that it was a possibility. And, we were expecting, maybe around the time the show airs, who knows, it was just a possible that we could show up and have a tryout match. And so it was tough because I kind of wanted confirmation because I was in very bad shape at the time. I was weighing 330 pounds, 340, near there. I just had no stamina just because it's COVID, man. I'm sitting at home playing video games, editing stuff, and making goofy videos. I for my living, for my job, I work at Giphy, making animated GIFs all day, and so
with my brother.
Yeah,
that's how we know each other.
Friends of the Semino family. So yeah, I just been sitting on ass this whole time and gaining weight. And so when this opportunity came up, I was like, crap, I gotta, it was tough to force myself to lose a bunch of weight and work out on a maybe. But I figured, if it happens, awesome, I'm ready. And if it doesn't, then I'm in shape, so who cares? Positives all around. So I dropped 30, 40 pounds. I got better in shape. And then we got the email that December 3rd we'd be filming in Florida. So I was like, oh my God, well thank God I'd gotten in shape. We got like a 2-week warning that we were gonna fly to Florida, so we booked our flights, booked our hotel, went out there, and it was nerve-wracking. It was one of the worst like nervous situations I've ever had. I was scared shitless just because. And I felt bad because I hadn't wrestled since 2016, like when like Freakshow Wrestling stopped. Freakshow Wrestling was a place that I loved. It was my home. It was big time comedy wrestling. Sometimes we do deathmatch stuff, but like for the most part, it was just a really fun environment, and it was great, and I loved it. And then it ended, and I didn't have anything to do wrestling wise since then. And we're surrounded, we're getting on the bus that morning and we're meeting everyone and we're talking, a lot of the extras and some of the talent. And, I'm talking to people who had like the night before wrestled in Georgia and then immediately hopped in a rental car and drove all the way out to Florida and got there an hour before we left, like these people who have been like, oh yeah. And then after this, I've got another match set up, 200 miles away. So as soon as this is over, I'm going to drive out there. And I felt bad because I'm just like, man, not everyone here is getting a match, and I'm like a dopey idiot who found his way accidentally into a match, and I hope no one gets mad. But I mean, I think I still know how to wrestle at this point, but man, I don't know. Am I really gonna shit the bed on national? Sorry, do you guys cuss?
You can cuss all you want.
Okay,
Please.
cool.
Go nuts.
Sorry. Realized. I didn't want to shit the bed on TV. Too bad anyway. A little bit's okay. It's funny.
Especially given your character too. I think a little bit of
right.
poop wouldn't bother anybody.
Yeah, if it's a wrestling match with me, there's gonna be a little bit of poop in there. You can't avoid it. It happens. So so we all get in the bus. We get carted off to Universal Studios, and it felt like high school, in the nicest way possible. Because there's cliques and there's people that like hang out and their friends and like whatever. And I had a couple of friends who from many, many years ago that wrestle there, I don't want to name drop them because I don't know if they want to be associated with me. But there was 3 or 4 people that, we got to hang out with. And so it was nice to like know people. And then my manager, Howdy, knows nearly everybody. He's been in PWG. He's been in, Hollywood Championship Wrestling for the last few years. He's been around for many, many years and is loved and beloved. And so he knew nearly everyone. So everyone's like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'm just like, the kind of nerdy tag along. Yeah, me too, right, guys? But yeah, so we had the photographer Speedy come up, and he was just like, hey, if you guys haven't taken promo shots yet, come on, get your gimmick, come on over. So we got in our gear and we got to take a bunch of like cool, photos that they use for like the intro screens of like, 10 versus Leroy and blam, and that's so we took all those photos. And then we just got to like talk, and we were the 35th match of the night.
Jeez.
That they did 40 something matches.
Wow.
And so it was just like, oh man, we've got 8 or 9 hours to like kill. And so it was just talking to people and chatting, and then got to meet 10, and we went over things, and after I talked to 10 and kind of knew what was going on, I felt so much better because I was like, oh, okay, I've done this before. I've been doing this for many, many years. I get it now. I'm not scared anymore. I feel good about what we're doing, because part of the issue too is like you look at AEW and there are some amazing wrestlers, the world's best even. It's not hyperbole to say. And I was just like, man, I'm not that. That's not, I hope they're not expecting that. I hope they like the brand of wrestling I'm about to bring. They seem all inclusive though, with all styles and types. So we'll see. And yeah, the match was just a blast. It was a ton of fun. One of the funnest I've had. It went a lot faster than I was expecting. Just because you expect it to go forever and you have time to do everything, and it's happening. It's going. Go, get in there. Go, do your thing. Oh crap, they're already ready for the next spot. Get ready. But luckily, like stamina wise, I feel like I did pretty well. I was happy with my performance there. And so after the match, Tony Khan came out with a microphone, and he says, "I don't care what Dave Meltzer says. That was a 5-star match." And I thought he was being sarcastic and like making fun of me, because like I was like, man, that clothesline over the top rope didn't go as planned. Maybe it looked cool, but it's not what was planned. And then because AEW, their ropes are a lot tighter than I'm used to, because people are doing crazy moves off them all the time. Most of the time they'll have a little bit of sag, especially when you hit them. So when I got hit for the clothesline to go over the top rope, there was no sag, and they felt just a tiny bit higher than usual. So I got up halfway, and then I was like, "Well, that's not going to work. I'm just going to roll out." But like, yeah, it was just definitely a situation where I was pretty happy with how it went. It could have been better, but I was happy. But yeah, so I thought Tony Khan was making fun of us, and I was just like, man, that's rough. And then I went backstage, and he was like waiting for us. He was like, that was great. He showered us with praise and was super, super nice, and apparently loved what we did. And so I was like, oh wow, okay, maybe that wasn't sarcasm. Wow, okay, all right. And then people were like, oh man, that was so funny, giving us high fives and stuff, and I'm like trying to breathe. Thank you so much. And then I went back. I put some clothes on, so I wasn't just in my underwear. Which, wrestling in my underwear to me is the funniest thing ever. I saw so many people ripping like, get some real gear, get some like, dude, no, I will wrestle in my underwear as long as they let me, because I think it's just hilarious. Just a crappy pair of boxer briefs I bought from Target.
Yeah,
my ring
that's
gear.
good. It's low cost, right?
Right? Hey, throw them out into the crowd after the match, But yeah, so I got dressed and I came back and I saw people pantomiming things that happened in the match. They're doing the thing that -1 was. I was like, wow, people are talking about it. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
And I got confirmation that during the match, Tony Khan was like, that was all, yeah, it's like getting like getting hyped about the match. I was like, okay, whew. Then I guess that went as good as can be,
Leroy, that's a great story too, because that's like, Walt and I have read, this is the Wrestling Book Club podcast, so we've read a million wrestling books, we talk about them, we hear so many stories about guys and girls, but mostly guys, who get their first match at, typically WWE, WWF, also a little WCW, and a lot of them have the same nervousness they're talking about, the same tension, the same sort of fear, but also I feel like most of the time it's like a morgue, it sounds like half the time, where you come back and everyone's gone, they've all left, they all drove away to get to the next town, like, there just doesn't seem like there's almost all those stories are like, or I remember the Young Bucks book, they even say like they tried out and everyone's like, yeah, whatever, like no, they're overly praised and then they can never hear back, or they are, it's definitely calm and they have no idea what's going on. But this sounds like it was like a genuinely jovial, pleasant, good time. Obviously, hopefully Tony calls you back, but regardless of that, like,
right, yeah. Hopefully I don't get into that. Hey, it sounded great. Yeah.
But the mood sounds like it truly was, once you loosen up and had the match, it was a really good time.
Yeah, it was. I loved backstage there, because that's what keeps me in and out of wrestling are locker room drama and politics and stuff. Like I've bounced around, XPW was crazy, but I've bounced around a bunch of places, and I just don't. I like the feeling of a bunch of friends putting on a show and wanting to have a good time, and when you do that, it shows in the ring. It shows that people are happy. And putting on some cool and giving it their all because they want to keep being there. And I've been places where it's not like that. Freakshow Wrestling was amazing. Freakshow Wrestling for me was like, yeah, we're a bunch of like theater geeks about to put on a play, and it's gonna be awesome. It was like the mentality there, and I felt some of that at AEW. It was awesome. Everyone that I thought may have been mean was really nice. We were talking Pokemon Go a lot. A lot of people play that. Like it was really neat to mix with all those people and have everyone just be so cool, and it could be one of the biggest stars in the company or someone starting their making their debut alongside me, and everyone was just super neat and really kind and nice, and it was amazing. I really hope I get to go back, because that's such a fun time.
Yeah, you made Tony Khan pop during your debut. Sounds pretty similar to a story you've told in the past about popping New Jack in one of your early, if not your earliest XPW as
God.
the ring crew guy.
Yeah, that guy scared the shit out of me. New Jack is the only person on this earth that I feared, like legit. I feel like most people I can either intimidate my way out of a fight or have a decent chance at winning the day. But yeah, Jack is not one of them. R.I.P. New Jack. He was always super nice to me though. So, but he was the kind of guy where like if you pissed him off, he's gonna hurt you and not feel bad about it. He wasn't in that mindset. He wasn't a normal person. But him and I always got along, so I can't complain there.
Well, we read his book too, and based on what we read, it sounds like that's not someone you want to piss off.
No, not at all.
But from your XPW days, and it sounds like from your Freak Show Wrestling days, you had a very similar style. You've mentioned you have a certain brand of wrestling, and I'm curious. Was there anything from the Ring Crew Guy days, maybe something from Freak Show Wrestling that inspired the presentation on Dark? Was there new additions, ripples that you brought to the presentation, to the character? Like, I'm curious, like, what led to what we ended up seeing on Dark?
So, I wanted to, because of the Go Big Show connection, I kind of wanted to try to. I knew that whatever I was going to do on that show, if the Dark opportunity happened, I was going to have to kind of do the same. So it's more of the closest thing it's to is the upcoming performance on the Go Big Show, character-wise. But like, I used a lot of like Freak Show Wrestling goofballery, like there were. I thought it was so funny that Taz called up the Benny Hill moment, because we would literally have spots set up in Freak Show Wrestling to where one person would chase after the other and the Benny Hill theme would start playing, so for that to be referenced, which that wasn't my idea to do that, but to have that referenced in both was so neat. It was like, it became such a neat little personal thing to have Taz just ripping me apart and then singing the Benny Hill theme was like, oh, all my worlds are coming together. Enjoy his harmony. It's wonderful.
Yeah, Leroy, I was going to ask about that too, because obviously you popped Tony and you had a great experience. It was, you haven't wrestled him forever, so I can't imagine how nice this was to get back into it and such a bright light shining on you. But what is it sort of like to have, obviously the point of the match is it's a comedy match, and Taz and Excalibur are sort of giving you shit the entire time, and they, as is their role in the show, as is your role in the show. But like, what is it like to play that sort of character all the time? Like, obviously, you came into wrestling with a certain perspective and a certain idea of what you were going to be, but how does it feel to watch that again at your house and then say, okay, that's what it is. That's how it has to be.
The moment after the match, and I was thinking of just, because when you do something like that, you replay it in your head a whole bunch of times and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, Taz is going to be calling the match, and he is going to rip me apart, and it is going to be so funny. I want who the hell is this guy? Just like the human Leroy Patterson. What? Just ripping me apart was like I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. That now I have something major to look forward to. And yeah, they were relentless. Like I was not expecting them to be that harsh, which is fine. It deserves it. It's valid. And it makes complete and total sense to me that's how it would be presented. I had no alternate thinking coming into it. I wasn't like, hey, maybe they'll be nice and like it and think I'm great. No. That's not why I'm there. That's not what it is. And you get a lot of people like that type of performance too. Also online, like especially for the first match, I live very deep online, and I read probably nearly every single message about that match. And a lot of them were negative, and that's okay. Like, I would rather have people be negative about it than not care.
That's also what you get for going on the internet too.
Yeah. But luckily, I've I've lived in the murky evilness of the internet for so long, because I've been creating content online since pre-YouTube. Like I had to buy a server, and then we put stuff up on Dead Journal. So like I am used to people with any insult under the sun, used to them throwing it my way. So that doesn't bother me at all. I can read hours and hours of "you fat piece of shit" and not care. It's fine.
You were on Dark and they weren't, so they can honestly go fuck themselves. Like, that would be my take.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. But like, for me, it's always like it's kind of like Andy Kaufman. If people are mad or if people are happy, it's all a reaction. It's all emotional. It's all good. It's fine. And some people are valid. Most people, they have to say, there is a lot of validity to it, and that's fine, but I'm okay with that. But when people are like overly mean and like attacking your family members and stuff, that's when there's problems at home. They're going through something, and then they use online hostility to make them feel a little bit better. Like they take control of their situation a little bit. The world isn't piling it on them; they're piling it right back. And it's unfortunate that some people get to that level, and hopefully they can find something in their life that makes them happy or gets them past this moment. But like, you can't base your life on the words of strangers online. You can't. You can't control what they say, but you can control how you react to it. And I know that these people will have zero say in my life whatsoever. So if that's how they want to spend their time, fine. I'd rather people be talking about me negatively than not talking about me at all. So I don't mind.
Meanwhile, the boss is saying it's a 5-star match, so that's truly the only opinion that matters.
Yeah. Now, if Tony had been like, that was the drizzling shits, you get the fuck out of my ring, you're walking home, you don't get to take the bus, then I'd be a little upset then. Yeah. that would be some harsh criticism, and I would take that to heart. But that didn't happen. And, hopefully we'll get to ride another day. But, I like reading that kind of stuff online. I like seeing some people had some really good zingers, like really like, damn, that's creative, like, and so I can't complain. It's if you're going to insult me online, be creative about it. Don't just go fat with no punctuation and no capitalization.
That's a good rule of thumb. I like that.
Yeah, don't let it roll off your mouth like it's like saliva. Fat. Just give me like wow, did someone dig up King Kong Bundy and eat him right before the match or something? Like give me some kind of humor with it at least if you're gonna try to take me down a peg.
So we talked a lot about the debut and the hope for all of us and even the people on the internet, but hopefully the positive ones. The hope is that you will ride another day and you will get to wrestle more matches for AEW. I would love to see that personally. And my question for you is, looking up and down the AEW roster, is there anyone that you can identify and say, like, God, if I could wrestle that guy or girl or anyone on the roster, we could have a really fun match or a really good match. Is there anyone that kind of sticks out?
I mean, hell, I think I could do some really funny stuff with most people on the roster. But I would love to wrestle like Orange Cassidy. I think would be like the dream match because I mean, legit, he's probably my favorite wrestler active right now. And I think that we could do a lot of really funny stuff together. I mean, like Powerhouse Hobbs, like any big, strong dude who could just like throw me out of the ring, just wreck me, I think would be hilarious. But I got ideas for everyone, so whoever they put me with, I'm sure we'll make some magic.
Leroy, that's amazing. Talking to you has been fantastic. I think it's so cool that you got your chance to go out there and do your thing. And like Walt said, we're rooting for you. I think everyone listening is rooting for you to get another shot. So regardless, the experience is amazing. You got a day job too, so you're not sweating it too much.
Yeah, it's fine.
But if you get to face Orange Cassidy someday and have, an epic comedy match with two comedy titans out there, I mean, that would be pretty fun. So we are rooting for you.
It'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, Leroy, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it so much. Good luck. And go Big Show. Watch that. And in the very near future, Leroy will be popping up yet again. So check that out, everybody.
That was so great, Walt. Leroy is such a good guy, such a unique perspective on AEW and the business, and so cool that he got this match. It must be so wild to get plucked and get this opportunity. And he made the best of it. Getting Tony to pop like that, that's got to be the dream, right?
I mean, that I don't know a scenario where a tryout match doesn't go better than that.
I was thinking the whole time he said that. You know how Vince McMahon has these weird foibles, these weird things that make him laugh, pushing people in the pool or whatever? Apparently Leroy tickles Tony's sweet spot just like that. He's just his kind of guy.
Yeah, right. And I mean, just like Leroy said, like a match with him and Orange Cassidy would be great. And I think that there's room for that kind of match in content at this company, and they're not afraid to kind of experiment with the form of pro wrestling. And he would be a perfect character in that space. And so why the hell not? I think that it would be an interesting addition to the show. And I hope we get that match one day, because I think that'd be really funny.
It would be funny. Leroy's fun. He's a good talker. He's got a great look. He's unique. You can't deny any of that. And he was delightful to chat with. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And if you did enjoy it, you can find more of our episodes at awesometruth.libsyn.com. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are delivered. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at awesometruthpod. Walt, thanks for joining us to talk to Leroy. And thank you all so much for listening. Remember, the truth will set you free.